The chair and the town planner have reviewed the video of this meeting in detail and in consultation with town council have established the following. The owner of 320-322 submitted an application to replace currently existing wooden doors for doors that were made of synthetic material with identical appearance to the existing wood doors. This application was first considered by the Historic Districts Commission at the meeting of November 19, 2023, and the decision was made to continue the application to the meeting of November 2nd, 2023. The application was presented again at the meeting of November 2nd, 2023, and all commissioners, including full and associate members, discussed the application, and there was an opportunity for public comments. A vote was taken to determine whether to approve with conditions, continue, or deny the application. The vote was as follows. 2 full members of the commission voted in favor of approval. 2 full members of the commission voted against approval. An associate member who had been appointed as a voting member for this meeting by the acting chair voting in favor of approval. The vote, therefore, was 3-2 in favor of approval. We have determined that this vote was valid and that the commission voted in the affirmative to approve the application. We have determined that the application itself had no defects. Furthermore, no new information has been raised or has been added during this procedure or thereafter, warranting a different finding about this particular vote. We have determined that the vote should have been noted as an approval of the application. Therefore, any motion to vacate the vote is declared invalid, as there were no procedural deficiencies or invalid assumptions to support the motion to vacate. The Historic Districts Commission, therefore, is not reopening the hearing to consider additional information. And the Commission, as required by statute, specifically the General Laws of Massachusetts, Chapter 40C, Section 10A, will issue a certificate of appropriateness. Therefore, I will put before the 5 voting members of the Commission whether anyone believes that we should make a motion to deny the certificate of appropriateness, considering the procedural history I just recounted. So I will ask the 5 voting members of the Commission whether we should deny this application, and if there's a motion to do so. If there's a motion, we will continue the application. If there's a motion, we will consider the matter closed, and we will extend the certificate of appropriateness. Do I hear a motion to deny the application to 320, 322 Lower Road? Well, I declare that there's no motion. Therefore, the decision to approving the certificate of appropriateness for 320, 322 Lower Road will stand, and a certificate of appropriateness will be issued. Now we will go to our regularly scheduled meeting. And we will start with the new public hearings. The first one is Spalding Management, LLC, 2 Independence Court in the Main Street Historic District to remove and replace windows. And we have almost the same application for 13 Walden Street from the same applicant. So we probably can do one right after the other very efficiently. Is the applicant here? Mrs. I assume that you are representing Spalding Management?
Yes, I am.
Well, welcome to the meeting. Sorry for the delay. If you want
That's
to present
okay.
what you're planning to do.
That's okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm pleased to be here, and I was here 2 months ago looking for some windows to be approved at 2 Independence Court, and they were approved. I'm now looking for 2 additional windows on the 2nd floor on the alley side. So that's sort of, as you're going down toward the parking and behind the building. We're looking to remove and replace the windows in the entirety, including all interior and exterior pine trim. Thank you. They're Anderson 400 series wood-right. Complete window units. We'll replace the sills with Douglas fir, replace the casings with primed treated pine. And we'll look to match, they do have a dark green, so we can pretty much match the existing paint color to keep that the same.
Okay, and we have the specs and okay. I'll ask for the commission for comments, and I'll start with Walter Clay.
So you're trying to match these as closely as possible to the originals?
Yes, so but this is it's the blend is sort of 40% wood fiber by weight, and so it's the actual it's Anderson 400 series, so it's the ones that you approved. The
Yeah, I understand in terms of materials. My only looking at it, there are obviously two different sections of the building.
Okay.
There. So my question would be about consistency with what appears to be the older section.
Yeah, we're trying to make it look as
it's sort of is your spirit correct, or is your head in the right place question? And it seems to be certainly so. That's it. I'm fine.
It's a good question. It's a good question. Yeah.
Thanks very much, Walter. Catherine?
Based on our previous approval, and I know we took a thorough look at this with the previous decision. I think this is absolutely fine.
Thanks very much, Catherine. Timothy.
Yeah. Did you say 2 windows are being replaced?
Yeah, so we had approval for the back windows. We're looking just to replace actually on this grid, the ones that are on the second floor. They're currently, it's where, John Battle Architects are. So, right, the 2A windows, right, exactly where the pointer is. Right.
The 2A windows that are in the brick section?
No,
Sorry,
just the ones that are in the non-brick section, correct.
And are those getting mullions, or are they just going to be the 1/1?
I think they're going to be 6/6.
6/6. Okay, so you are changing the look of those, but it's just those 2 windows.
Well, we had already approved. You all had approved the ones behind in the back of the building. I don't know if we want to look at those. What the approval is.
That's probably before my time. So, yeah, no, I don't have any other comments. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Tim. And keep in mind that I have kept Dennis Fiore, our window expert, for last before myself. So we are all eagerly waiting for his comments.
My question is, refresh my memory in what we did in the back. Didn't you want to put 6/6 there, and we decided that we wanted you to leave the 2/2? Is that what happened in back?
Can we read that decision just to make sure that we're all on the same page? I don't want to be stating the wrong thing.
I don't know if our town planner can look it up. It's probably not that.
Sorry, it will take me a few minutes to go find that.
Right. I'm sort of looking at consistency here. It's one of these questions that probably given the age of the building, the 6/6 is appropriate, but over time, the building has evolved in a number of ways. Mm-hmm. And if we're looking at a history of the building as it's evolved, and I think we did that in the back of the building, then I would advocate for leaving the 2/2. But I'd like to see what the situation was in back.
Okay.
Is it 1/1 or 2/2 in the back?
Excuse me, it's a 1/1, I think. Did I say 2/2? I meant 1/1.
Yeah.
It looks like you all approved 6/6 windows in the back.
Okay, then I'm fine with the 6/6 staying consistent around the side.
Very good. Thank you very much, Dennis. I have no further comments other than what the other commissioners have already mentioned, I think that's fine, and I think it's consistent with a 6/6 as it's being proposed. Are there any public comments about this application? Okay, in the absence of public comments, I'll ask the commission for a motion to approve with conditions, continue or deny the application of 2 Independence Court.
I move that we approve the application as submitted for 2 Independence Court.
A second?
Second.
Walter,
Aye.
Dennis,
Aye.
Catherine,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well. So thank you very much. Now you have to come back and present the next,
Okay, I'll put my video on and off.
which is 13 Walden Street.
Yeah. So, so again, for the record, my name is Sharon Spalding from Spalding Management. I'm here to represent, in this case, 13 Walden Street, still Concord Square Trust. This is behind the store currently located there is Thistle Hill. The windows, is just a matter that they're just in tough shape. And we want to be able to have it be a comfortable experience for the tenant. And those windows are not creating a comfortable experience. So same thing, we're looking for the same windows, the 6/6 Anderson 400 series Woodwright. We're looking for replacing an entirety interior and exterior pine trim. So.
And we have the specs of the windows as well, at least we have them on file.
Yes, and it's yeah, you have the architectural plan, correct?
Okay. Well, I'll ask the commissioners for comments, and I'll start with Tim now. You're muted.
Sorry. Can you just show me where these are in plan? Is there a little site plan or something? Maybe I missed it.
Yes, it's Anne can pull it up. It's part of the application.
Okay, so it's in the so-called back. So you're converting 1/1s to the 6/6 like the other building, correct?
Right, but I think it can be seen by the public way, so we come to the historic district, 'cause I think if you're at the
Right.
church, I think, yeah, so. But it is in the back of the building, correct?
And are these the only windows in that building on the back, or are there others, or?
These are the only ones we're looking right now to replace, correct, at this point.
Okay, I don't have any other comments. Thank you.
Thanks
Thank
very
you.
much, Tim. Catherine.
I do recall this application, and I have no problem with what is being proposed.
Thanks very much, Catherine. Dennis.
What's the date of this building?
So, it's a really good question. And I know that question was asked the last time for 2 Independence Court. And these buildings, I don't actually have a date, to be honest, that we can tell you firmly when the buildings were built.
Okay, it appears to be Victorian. I'm not remembering the front of it right now. I'm just wondering if in this case that the 1/1 might be a better deal here than the 6/6, which might not have been in this building at any point. But Anne, do you know? Oh yeah, okay. That's a modern building. But it's 6/6 in front, so it could go either way. I have no objection to what you're proposing.
Thanks very much, Dennis. Walter.
My question would just be about what the existing windows on the rest of the back are. It's hard to see from the picture. It looks as if I squint like they might be 6/6s. I assume that given Spalding's love for 6/6s, that the idea would be to replace the rest of the back when the time comes with consistency. I have no problem.
I'm all about consistency, but I do have, I think we can
Yeah.
present the plan that I submitted that can show you picture of the back of the, there you go.
Oh,
So I
yeah,
think if we zoom in, you can see it.
yes,
Yeah. Yeah, so 6/1. Looks
almost 6/6. I'm okay.
halfway there.
Yes.
Thank you, Walter. I have no other comments because all my smart comments were already said by the other commissioners. So I'll ask for public comments. Are there any public comments about this application? If there are no public comments, I will ask the commissioners for a motion to approve with conditions, continue or deny this application.
I move we approve the application for 13 Walden Street as submitted.
A second,
I'll second.
Walter,
Aye.
Dennis,
Aye.
Catherine,
Aye.
Timothy,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well. So congratulations, 2 out of 2. That's a
All
perfect
right.
record.
Good average. Thank you very much for your time and attention. I appreciate it.
Most welcome. Next application is Mark Walden, 185 Main Street, Main Street Historic District, to remove brick veneer on chimney and paint white. Mr. Waldron here, or a representative?
No, this is Michael McSorley from Concord Academy, and I'll be representing the school tonight.
Well, we know about the Concord Academy.
Yeah. So we're seeking permission to remove red brick veneer on one of our existing buildings and restore it back to its original design and color of white. Yeah, the chimney on the left, it was covered with a veneer at one point, and we want to take that off, repoint the chimney, and then paint it white back to its original color to match the other chimney on the right. You can actually still see the traces of white underneath it at the bottom there. So that's the goal, is to restore it.
So you want both of them to be white, right?
Yeah, we want them to match, and that's when you look back in the file, they both were white originally, and it would be nice to bring the house back to its original stature.
Very nice. Well, I'll ask the commissioners for comments. So let's start with Dennis.
I have no problem. I think white's fine. I think white is actually quite traditional. I think early chimneys were painted white. So I think it would look much better.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Dennis. Catherine.
I'm in complete agreement with Dennis. I think it's lovely to have the house restored to its original look and state.
Thanks so much, Timothy.
No comments.
Walter.
Quick anecdote, in Newburyport, most of the chimneys on older houses are white. Many of them have black bands around the top. And the argument was always that the black band was there because that meant they were British sympathizers. Back to the revolution. Of course, if they're trying to avoid being considered British sympathizers, it makes absolutely no sense. Anyway, all white is great for me, and I'm happy to do it.
Thanks very much, Walter. I think that white is fine as long as we don't put any black bands announcing that we are more loyal to the motherland than to ourselves. Are there any public comments about the application of 185 Main Street? If there are no public comments, I'll ask the commission for a vote to approve, continue, approve with conditions, or deny the application of 185 Main Street.
I move we approve the application as submitted for 185 Main Street.
Walter.
Need a second.
Second? Oh, sorry, second?
Second.
Also Timothy. Okay, Walter,
Aye.
Dennis,
Aye.
Catherine,
Aye.
Timothy,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well. So once again, the Concord Academy has has sailed through an application. All right.
Thank you very much for your time.
The next application is Fabio Construction, 3133 Langus Street in Northbridge Monument Square Historic District, to modify size, massing, features, and materials in order to convert the existing two-family dwelling into a one-family dwelling and demolish the existing three-car garage and construct a new dwelling unit with an additional connection connecting the two. I will clarify the fact that we consider an application for this same site a few months ago, and the application was discontinued by the applicant. So there's no prejudice in considering this application, and we will consider it as a brand new application and start from scratch. And this may as well involve doing a site visit. So I know that Fabio is here. So Fabio, will you want to present the information, unless you have the architect, which I don't, let's see.
I'm here.
Oh,
Hear
there's
me? You
Fabio.
guys hear me?
Well, go ahead. What are you planning to do?
Okay, my name is Fabio, Fabio's Construction. I have a two-family in the front of the yard, and that is was built in 1918. And I have a bed in shape addition at the back side of the house. Thank you. Yep. Thank you for the picture. My plans are take that rear addition out, demolish that one. Over there will be just a door to go to the main house. And at the same spot over there will be a park for two cars. And at the rear of the house, I have, yep, that's an existing picture. Yeah, that's the rear of the house, existing. Yeah, that's the garage. I'm gonna tear down the garage. That's my plan. And I'm gonna connect a second unit towards the house on the front. I have a little colored drawing there that's showing it. That's what my intention is to do. On the house facing the street, now it has two doors. I'm planning to install one door, and where is the door that's gonna be eliminated, I'm gonna install a window. Let's see on that picture. As you drive on the existing driveway, I'm not intending to change the driveway. The driveway is gonna stay the same location. When you drive to the existing driveway towards the back, gonna be parked for two cars. That means now it's two family, and I'm keeping it as two family. I'm just do front to back. Yep, that's a nice picture, like that one. The existing garage that is now is gonna be gone. It's not gonna be the garage anymore. And that's the orientation that I'm planning to do to convert the two houses. That connection in the middle will be a storage for both houses, one on the front and the one on the back. Similar to the house next to it, where it used to be a church. And by FAR, I have like, I can go up to 4,792 square feet. With that being said, I mean, adding about, after I'm taking the garage down and the little addition of the existing house, I mean, only adding 1,000 square foot for the whole lot to meet the requirement of the FAR. That's my presentation. The siding will be look the same as a clapboard siding. It's vinyl siding now. It's gonna be removed. The existing house on the front, I'm gonna keep all the same look. I won't change the roofing pitch. I won't change the orientation of the windows on the front. On the right side of the driveway, probably gonna remove one of the windows. That's the plan, and install gas fireplace there. That's why there's a little bump out at the right side elevation of the existing house. That's my plans to do, and I hope to get approval.
Thanks very much for your presentation, Fabio. Just a couple of clarifications. You're saying that the material of the siding would be wood instead of a synthetic
Yes.
material. And the second question that I have, just before we discuss the application, it's that you have specs for all the light fixtures and for all the ancillary appliances that you have to put. Is that correct?
That's correct. The windows will be
Okay, you don't have to mention that. Yeah, we just want to make sure that
yes,
that it's there as
that's
part
right.
of the application, and I'm sure some commissioners will have specific questions. So let's start with Catherine. Any comments?
Yes, well, actually, I just would love some clarifications first. Can we look at the site map? I just want to familiarize myself with exactly where this property is located. Okay, thank you. I think my initial comments are that I feel like just I do wish it would be nice if the architect were here this evening to answer some of our questions. You know, I do think I understand the inherent programming here. I do feel that visually, though, I'm having a little bit of difficulty understanding exactly, architecturally speaking, kind of where this structure is coming from. I mean, I see sort of vague echoes of the original house with the new house, but the new house, I'm having a little bit of difficulty with the shape of the roof line. It also looks to me a little bit like almost like a Florida veranda style or bungalow style in architecture. I also feel like the breezeway or the connecting piece of architecture, the connecting structure, to me feels a little discordant and it feels very long. I understand that its purpose is for storage, but I think maybe that's part of the problem, that it just feels as a connecting unit between these two other structures that it's to the eye, I think, to me, a little bit seemingly not so purposeful, I guess. So I just have some questions about I guess the overall intentionality of and the thought process behind the thoughts behind the architecture.
I don't know if I can speak.
Why don't you wait until all the commissioners make comments, and then you can address all of them at the same time. Thank you, Catherine. Let's ask Walter to make comments.
Well, I think to Catherine's point, the purpose of the connector isn't for storage. The purpose of the connector is to connect the two buildings visually so that it passes muster. And I'm pretty sure that if I remember the last conversations we had about this, there's no direct connection between the two. It's just that that structure physically butts a bit of storage up against the other one. I doubt it's in my place to be really talking deeply about that, so I won't. I'm concerned about the siting of the structure, and I'm concerned about the FAR figures. The application says that it's up to 98% of what's allowable, and none of the drawings or plans show the proximity of the neighboring buildings. And we were there on a site visit, and as I remember, some of it is fairly close. So this, to me, it's putting a fairly large structure up to the full capacity of the lot without showing how it impacts the neighbors in the neighborhood. When it comes down to the, speaking to the architect, I would be curious as to why the decision was made about the front door situation. To me, it's visually jarring to have a window on one side of the porch. If we're talking about the historic setting of a building in an historic district, that looks to me to be very obviously a door was taken out and a window was put in its place, rather than having something that's more visually integrated and visually homogeneous across the front. And then lastly, as far as the connector goes, I will quote a commissioner from the meeting of September 7th, who said, I believe, quote, I don't see that this link does anything other than connect these two buildings. And I agree with that. Those are my concerns. There I am.
Thanks very much, Walter. Dennis.
Yeah, my concerns remain the same as they did the first time around, and I think you've heard them here, particularly from Walter, and that is this. I've never liked this whole connection thing, and I know it's perfectly kosher to do this, to allow a bigger building on site than would normally be allowed there. So the connection is just facilitates this and has really no purpose other than allowing another building to be built on this site. I'd asked if that was still okay, and I gather, Ann, that it is, because we're back here again, so that we can do that sort of thing. I would suggest in the future we do something to clarify this. To me, it's a lot of structure on a fairly small site. I'm sorry I missed the last site visit, and I think I would like another one to take a look at this as the new plan has evolved. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much, Dennis. Timothy.
Yeah, I mean, my comments are generally in keeping with others. The link, I think, is the item that concerns me the most. It's a very odd, to me, out of place architectural link. It's very thin. It doesn't open up to either house. And there's also, I just pointing out, there's still inconsistencies with the hand-drawn drawings and with the 3D model, and we need clarification as to which is correct, because there's windows that aren't, every single elevation is something that's different from the hand drawings. So we need clarification as to which drawings, is that the computer drawings are the most up to date. Specifically on the side that shows the link in the computer drawings as siding, and on the hand drawings as vertical board and batten, quite a different look. And I think the current computer drawings where the siding just runs into this link is just, not consistent with what any of these houses of that era would do. So I think the architect and the owner have to look hard at this link and see how they can make it feel more comfortable, given the fact that these two houses are reading as two houses. I personally don't really have a problem with the simplicity of the new house. I think it's kind of in keeping with the look of the existing house, but I think the link is, and it is a crowded site. It's a lot of building on a small site, but if it's within the FAR, it's within the FAR. I too wish the architect was here to explain what the approach is for that link on both sides and how it's contributing and not contributing to the positive design and not working against it. So I will stop there.
Thanks very much, Timothy. I will echo the comments of my fellow commissioners. I believe that the issue that we're dealing with here, it's whether the proposed changes have actually any historical references or any references that can be used to maintain the historicism of this place. And that could be accomplished just by having a new structure that is more harmonious with the older one, or having something that functions as a connector but that has a slightly different appearance. I believe that from a functional standpoint, the project is probably very efficient. But I believe that in the historic districts, projects need be both efficient and they should also provide some degree of historicism as they are in the historic district. So in summary, what I'm trying to say is that I believe that this is not a conceptual problem. I think that what it's being pursued, it's a worthwhile objective of having two dwellings. But I think that the architecture needs to address those issues, and right now it's not doing it. It's just being functional and pragmatic. So those are my comments. I will ask the public for comments about the application of 3133 Langus Street. And then after the public comments, I'll ask Fabio to comment again. So let's start with Pat Gahan.
Good evening, folks. I apologize to the group that I wasn't able to join the first time that this property was presented. My name is Pat Gahan. I live here in Concord, but I'm the owner of 45 Lang Street, and I just want to appreciate the turnout for the community and the Historic District Commissioners representing the important architectural elements of our neighborhood. I would like to bucket my comments into 4 distinct buckets if I could. I'll try to be brief and succinct. The first one would be scale and massing, a significant scale and massing that I'd like to put some numbers around. The second would be environmental impact. The third would be architectural standards. And the fourth would be an owner needing to be represented on these calls when they bring something forward. Now, I purchased 45 Lang Street in 2011, and there are 14 homes on Lang Street, and I've had a hand in 2 of those homes being refurbished and redesigned and going forward. So the 145 Lang and the house adjacent to me on the left, the abutter 51 Lang. So I had a very strong hand in helping those shape their direction and shape the outcome. And it's a nice side note for 45 Lang is a 1977 Garrison Colonial, and the Walter, it was white. It is now a modern Garrison Colonial, and it is a straw yellow. So, but nonetheless, we did a really nice job on that project and brought it up to snuff. The point here let's take scale and massing first and foremost. Now, I'm not an architect. I know there are numerous ones on the call here. But Holly Crassley represented me bringing my project forward. And I stood side by side with Holly in front of the Historic District over at Keys Road when I brought our project forward and made sure that I was a part of the community and the community knew our intentions to take the house. Really, we took it down to the studs inside. We put all new windows on it. We put a new roof on it, and we modernized it. And it's still, as I said, it's 1977 Garrison Colonial. When you look at the size of the homes that are going forward, this is significant. I'm not intimately familiar with what FAR is, but I did a little research here, and it says floor area ratio, and it's an important limit to the size of a building in relationship to the lot size. So what I did is I went up Lang Street and around, and I picked up 14 houses, and I looked at the livable area on our Concord website, GIS, and I don't know if you would humor me for a second, but I would love to share my screen if that would be possible. And what you see when you look at the sizing here is here are all the homes that are on Lang Street. Now there's 2 on Monument, but Lang Street homes all here in column C, and all of their livable area that is associated with those homes. And then you have the lot size in square footage. And when you put the livable area over the lot size on all 14 homes, you can see that index is at 0.182. 0.182. So that means the average is 0.182 over that lot. And yet, if you look at what's being suggested, is that we have a 74% increase in massing. A 74% increase. It just does not belong. Now, I took our home, 45 Langs, you can see in row 7, 1,872 square feet, on a similar lot size as the one beside me. The abutter here in 3331. It's 141967. So about a similar size lot. We kept our property the same. We modernized it and brought it up to the standards of the community. And that's what we did. But you know, that's whether that's here or there, I think it is important for the historic district to understand math, scale, and size. And you have, I think you've had a pretty contentious issue at 1667-3 parcel on Barrett and Lowell with this very same subject, and that is representing what is appropriate for the community and what is appropriate for the lots. So that's my scale and mathing message. It leads me to my second point, which is what's the impact? I can share with you some pictures of my backyard. And my backyard is significantly flooded. Now I'm butting that house, and the house is sloped downwards down Lang Street if you look at the map. And my sump pump is running, and when it rains hard, my backyard floods. Now you put another house in a foundation in there and you remove that, you're going to have a lot of watershed. And I'm very concerned about not only myself, but 40, which is 45 Lang, but I'm concerned about 46 Lang, 52 Lang, 51 Lang, 60, 61, and 73. They're all going to have a substantial watershed that's going to have to pitch and swale away from these structures, and it's going to pitch to our backyards. And I don't know if an environmental study or environmental impact has been considered. I don't think it should get to that point because I don't think the house should go forward in its current design. But if it were to be even moderately considered from 1 more square foot of its current size, it should have an accompanying environmental impact study. Thirdly, architectural standards, just a comment. I've looked at these documents. I've built several houses myself over time. It is very confusing, as many of the board members here spoke to tonight. You know, if I knew that I didn't need Holly Crassley, who knew the community, who knew what the HDC required, I would have avoided that expense and brought forward documents like these. These documents don't show detail. They don't show, as an example, they don't show basement drawing. They don't, in the existing and the proposed structures, they don't show detail, show a color drawing for the proposed, and they show detailed drawing for the existing. How about a little consistency in meeting the standards of this committee so the committee can make informed decisions and make the best use of the community and our time? And then the final note is just the owner being registered present on this call. Maybe the owner's present. I don't know if they are, but or are or not, but it doesn't seem they are. And I think that's what sends a message as well. So those are my 4 comments, and I'll rest my remarks.
Thanks very much, Mr. Gahan. Are there any other comments other than the comments from the applicant? So I'll, okay, Jenny and Matt Werner.
Yep. Appreciate. Yeah, thank you, Luis. I spoke at the last meeting on this topic as well. We're 2 doors down at 51 Lang Street, just to be clear. I agree with a lot of the points Pat's brought up. You know, we have just major concerns around the size and the scale. And it brings me a little bit of concern tonight to hear the HDC not, I guess there was a couple of you that brought that concern, but that the concept of adding a second dwelling in the historic district on such a tight lot is of concern. And what type of precedent does that set? So even if it's buildable by, you know, town zoning laws and FAR and everything else, I think you have to ask yourself, is it appropriate? Is it appropriate for an historic district to have a second dwelling as designed on such a small lot? That's it.
Thank you very much, Matt. Are there any other public comments? All right, Fabio, you want to make any additional comments?
Yeah.
Before I ask the commission for a motion?
Starting at the beginning of the first thing was the connection between the 2 houses, and in order to have those 2 builds to be built on the same lot, they require me to have that connection. Can be like a breezeway, needs to be something. If I bring the 2 houses close together, one looks like as big as they show. I understand the impact of adding the second unit on the lot. I'm gonna revise the plans based on the square footage of the existing addition that is there, how much that is covered the ground, plus how much the garage that is now over the ground to compare with the new unit. And maybe I can make some adjustments. That's one. I understand about the drawing. The drawing is kind of, I didn't invest a lot of money with Holly, like he suggests. Maybe next time I'll contact her. But anyway, speaking overall of the 2 units, the plans that I was intend for everybody to looking at was the Elise architecture drawing. The drawing that I have in color to show the house on the side, I was not with the intention of everybody looking the details on that one. That one is just to look how the trees, the driveway, the car is looking on the lot. That's why it was a computer drawing. And as far looking how the house gonna looks like, because the roof is, the pitch is so low on the architecture drawing, it's kind of hard to see how the roofing gonna looks like. But if you drive on Lang Street, you won't be able to see the house. With that being said, if the only question will be how the siding gonna looks like, the siding on the front of the house is gonna be a clapboard siding. On the back, on the draw is boards and batten. If someone has a disagreement of the siding, probably can change the siding to clapboard. But I don't think it's necessary for me to show that in a perfect picture other than an architectural drawing, in my understanding. As for the historic to look at the house, I think the most important comments will be the look of the house. What are you looking for in the street? Like I was mentioned before, how the house next door was done, they extend the house from the Monument Street, you're not able to see Lang Street anymore. With that being said, the way the house looking out back, I don't think that is important to look from the facade of the house. That's my comments on that one. For the connection, I don't think I can do much. The only thing I can do is remove the parking between the 2 houses and bring the 2 houses close together. And I understand about the impact of the water level in there. We all have this concern. That's gonna have to be a question for a natural resource. But this meeting here is most about the historic. Those details I don't think have to be mentioned in here. That's what I have to say in answer of the comments.
Thank you very much, Fabio. If I can summarize some of the comments of the commissioners and the comments of the public, I think that there are concerns about the scale and the massing of the proposed structures. There are some concerns about the environmental impact of the structure itself, and I have to agree that it's not going to be in the purview of the Historic Districts Commission. There are some concerns about whether the architectural reference points, which are the plans, are accurate. And I have to say that in this aspect, the Historic Districts Commission must have precise and accurate drawings on every part of the structure that's being proposed. And so that needs to be fixed.
I'll fix that.
So it seems that this is a complex application, and we in the previous application we made a site visit. So I believe that we should have a site visit, but that's my personal opinion. So I'll ask the commission for a motion to approve with conditions, to continue or to deny the application of 3133 Lang Street. Do I have a motion?
Okay, I move that we continue the application with a condition that there is a scheduled site visit before the next discussion and that a representative, at least from the applicant, attends the meeting. The last time we were there without representation, as I remember.
I'll make sure that happen.
Is there a second?
I second the motion.
All right, so I'll go from Timothy.
Aye.
Catherine,
Aye.
Dennis,
Aye.
Walter,
Aye.
and an I as well. So we will conduct a site visit at 8 o'clock in the morning on December 21st, which is the time of the next HTC meeting, and the application will be discussed again at that time. And I believe that the applicant has all the information necessary to correct the deficiencies that have been identified. And we look forward to the site visit and to considering the application again on December 21st. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next applicant is Garfield House Trust, 41 Monument Street, Northbridge, Monument Square Historic District, to replace door and a screen door.
Yep. This is Robert Drew from Battle Associates. Good evening, guys, again.
Hello, Mr. Drew. Good evening to you.
So we're on here twice because you saw this project back in last December. So we owed you a part of that approval. We owed you the exterior lighting package, which we're going to show you tonight. We also added a couple of things, which is why we're on here twice. So I'm just going to go through the whole thing, the kit and caboodle. So what we owed you was the exterior lighting package. If you remember way back in December, we added this porch back, which was there before. We added that back, and part of the approval is at the time we didn't have the exterior light package, which we submitted. So on the second, so I'll quickly walk you through it. On the second floor, we have 2 sconce lights. This is the left side of the house. So if you're facing the house, this is the left side, the south side. There was an existing light here. We added another one for balance, and these are all going to be new fixtures. On the front of the house, there was one on the right, and we're adding one on the left for balance. On the right side, there's existing locations, but we're replacing those with new fixtures. Obviously, to have all the fixtures be in harmony, we're adding 2 on the back side of the house. All the fixtures, which are from Patty Brothers in Sudbury. They're all, as it was all part of the package we gave you, which is here. All similar in spirit, all in harmony. They all have caps on top of it, so there was no light pollution going up. All tastefully done, and it's like I said, it's from our local company out of Sudbury. That's what we owed you. So that's something old. The new piece is the exterior door. As you're facing the house, the right side, there's an existing door which has seen a better day. We're replacing that with a door that has more glass to it, has a little more light, because it's now becoming a little bit of a cubby space, and we need more light back there. So the door we're replacing is like a 3/4 instead of a 3/3. The door is from Simpson. It matches the left side of the house. Let me get you a photo. It's similar in spirit. So it's also going to be painted dark forest green to match what was there before. That's one of the new parts here. And lastly, this is very, very small, but we wanted to mention it this evening. If you remember from last December, part of this porch is going to be a screen porch. The panel's originally going to be white. It came up just recently that we should paint it dark forest green to have it fade and go away, with the rails and the railing to remain white. Originally, part of our application, everything was going to be white. We would like to have these panels painted green so it kind of goes away, so it kind of looks like it was a long, long time ago. So it kind of fades away into its background and make the rails and columns pop. So some old, something new. I don't know if you've driven by the house, but the porch has been constructed. Everything's under construction. Looks really nice. And as always, happy to answer any questions you guys may have, as always. Thanks for listening.
Thank you very much. Let's start with Dennis.
I drive by this project and I think it's fabulous. It's wonderful to see this go back again. The house has become quite boxy, and this adds a nice dimension to it. Yep. I have no questions on lighting fixtures. They're sort of colonial revival, and this is colonial revival. So I can't fine tune that too much in terms of what's authentic. And the glass door is fine with me. I don't have any particular opinion on the door. So that's all I have to say. It looks like a good project.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thanks very much, Dennis. Catherine?
Yeah, I think the design decisions are really appropriate and in keeping with the style of the home. And I too think it's a great project. I have no objections to any of it.
Thanks very much, Catherine. Timothy?
Just a quick, the door replacement, is the screen door being replaced as well? Is it, or is that getting removed?
That's correct. It's going to be it's going to look like, yes, it's correct. It's going to be dark green as well. So it's pretty much what's there on the photo, same size, but just wood.
And you're just adding a couple more lights?
That's correct. Yeah, just another row of lights. The door has seen a better day. And it's just to bring a little bit more light into that space. It's a cubby space for the family's day-to-day entry when they, come in and take off their jackets and whatnot.
Right. Thank you. No, I have no questions. No more questions.
Thanks very much, Tim. Walter?
Two small points. The 512 Simpson is a wood door.
That's correct.
Okay, because the documentation says that the standard design is dug fir. So, okay, and then as far as the lights go on the front door, just visually to me, it looks like those the proposed sconces coming.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on.
So in front, yeah, just the others all look to be graceful enough all around. These look to me like they're shoehorned in just a touch. I understand it's a difficult placement for them.
Let me get an existing photo. Maybe it looks a little better. CAD only shows so much.
Yeah.
So we're kind of, that's about 9 inches or so.
Yeah,
9.5.
It's really, I'm extremely sympathetic. It's a really hard placement. I understand that.
But it kind of needs it on the front door. It needs on both sides for balance.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if there's a way to have a support that is thinner or something that stands out rather than if you were here, I would put my fingers on and show you. It looks like the back of that fixture is maybe 6 inches across flat or so.
That's correct. It's going to be, the back of that fixture now is a little bit thinner, and it's going to be on a block. See, there's like a little bit of a struggle piece in the middle.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if there's a way to pipe it out between the pieces of trim there, so it just looks a little more graceful. I'm not considering that to be a condition whatsoever. That's more
so what's going to happen? It's going to the new fixture is going to rest on a block, and the block's going to rest on the piece of trim. So that fixture is going to come out a little more. Does that make sense?
Sure.
And it's also easier to install because it's the back plate of it. See, if you see where I'm pointing right here, see, it has a curved the struggle piece.
Right.
It's obviously tough to mount a fixture on top of that, so we're putting it on a block.
You're gonna make it work.
Yeah, we're gonna make it look nice.
I've just been through a few of those decisions, so
yeah, it's not my first rodeo either. So
right, exactly. Okay. Very good. I have nothing further.
Good questions. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Walter. I have no comments other what has already been said. I think this project is fine, and it's going to look all right. So I'll ask for public comments. Are there any public comments? If there are no public comments, I'll ask for a motion to approve with conditions, continue or deny the application of 41 Monument Street.
I move that we approve the application as submitted for 41, did you say, Monument Street?
Yes.
41 Monument Street, that's correct. Second?
I second.
Tim?
Aye.
Catherine?
Aye.
Dennis?
Aye.
Walter?
Aye.
And I am an aye as well. So congratulations, and we shall continue seeing the progress of the construction. Thanks very much.
Thank you. It's been a great team effort and a great project. So thank you very much, guys, and have a good holiday.
Same to you. Thank you. Now we will conduct some other business. The first other business we have to deal with, it's the certificate of approval of 2270, which is an amendment to 41 Monument Street, a light fixture review which was a condition of the COA. I guess that you presented this at the same time, right?
Yep, That's correct. That's what it's a 2-for-1. So that's
Okay.
what that's, so the COA was for the light fixture piece. The other piece, the other door was the new piece, and the screen door, the screen paint, change to the paint of the screens was the new piece.
Okay, so I assume that we already have discussed this change, and that I will ask the town planner to make a note that this part of the application is being approved administratively. So the next item is an informal discussion about the intercentenary markets on Monument Square and Lexington Road. I want to welcome Mark Howell, a member of the select board, that will give us some information about this matter. I will clarify that this is strictly an informal discussion. This is not an application. None of what is being said here will be binding as far as the Historic Districts Commission is concerned. And I will encourage that the members of the commission ask questions and engage in what is a free flow of information and ideas. And I will mention as well that there will be no public comments. As when this application is formally presented as an application for the Historic Districts Commission, we still don't have a formal application, so I cannot tell you when this will be discussed. Then at that time, all the public comments will be taken into account and will become part of the record. But being that this is an informal presentation, then we will not include public comments in this presentation. So, Mr. Howell, Mark, welcome to the HTC, and give us a narrative of what is happening.
Good evening, and thank you for taking the time to consider this topic. I'm Mark Howell. I live at 668 Intersnack Hill Road, and I am a member of the Select Board. At the November 6th meeting of the Select Board, I made a motion which was adopted by the board, and it asked for two things to occur. First, that the town manager initiate a process that would cover the Tercentennial Commission signs as a temporary measure while a second activity takes place. That activity would be a community-wide process led jointly by the Historical Commission and the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Commission to recommend a permanent disposition for the signs. Please note that the time frame for these activities was not specific. The first action was requested as soon as possible, while the second was intended to initiate a process without directing its outcome. As a proponent of this approach, I wish to express a desire for a deliberate, thoughtful, and inclusive consideration respecting all points of view as we proceed. And I also believe that the sooner we start, the better. I anticipate that in the future, the community dialogue will result in a recommendation for a long-term disposition of the sign. And as included in the Select Board motion, the disposition could include removal, replacement with more accurate, relevant content, or incorporation into an appropriate educational exhibit at the same or another location. Of course, an application for permanent change, once developed, would be brought before the Historic Districts Commission. Today, we do not know what that change would be since the process of developing it has not started. For now, what would be very helpful is a dialogue about the initial steps. Because the signs are in Concord's Historic District, the Historic District Commission should be engaged to review and advise on all these actions. I proposed covering because it is temporary, non-disruptive, and requires minimal cost and effort. Town staff has done some initial research into durable temporary sign covers. Such covers could include an explanatory message and/or a QR code or another graphic, leading to more information on the signs or the initiative to study what best to do with them. Or covers could be blank. I would welcome your input on approaches to both the HDC application process and to the considerations related to covering the signs. Thank you again for your time and attention.
Thank you very much, Mark, for coming in here and providing this information. In my understanding, the select board made a decision to cover the signs, so this is a decision that stands. Is there a process by which the select board must implement those decisions? Is there a timeline, or can this decision be held for some time until other regulatory processes are completed?
You know, I think that's really one of the questions that I came here tonight to try to understand. Certainly the vision was that proposing covering was a non-destructive, easily removable and easily implementable way of obscuring the signs for the time being while a decision was made to plan, while a planning process and a community input process could be developed that would envision how we want to handle the messages of the signs, what they mean for us in the historical district and what their purposes are. The Historical Commission has been studying this for some time. The DEI Commission has taken a position on some of the messaging on the signs, and I think that that's potentially not really the matter that's before you as the Historic Districts Commission. I think that if I understand the purpose here, it is to advise and help to manage the visual consistency of the community. And so what I'm really seeking is input on how we might best address this. As a simple covering for the signs can be acquired for about $130 to $140 per sign. So for $400, town staff could go and take that first step. We could consider putting a message on that or not. I think we're all trying to work out what the process is, and so I'm hoping to appeal to your wisdom as to what you think might be the most appropriate way to proceed, given that these are in the historic district.
Well, thanks very much. I'll ask the commissioners for comments. So, Catherine, you want to start?
Oh gosh, I honestly feel like I am at a little bit of a disadvantage in terms of not knowing a great deal about this. So which signage in particular? I mean, is it signage throughout all the historic districts? Is it is the focus on particular signage?
Yes.
I'll interject right now, and I will ask our town planner if she could put a picture of the signs, Lexington Road, Main Street, and in Monument Square. Can we share?
We're talking about 3 particular signs which were installed in 1930 by the Tercentennial Commission, which was a project done by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Public Works Department, by which 275 signs related to the 300th anniversary of the Commonwealth were installed throughout communities all over the state. And so Concord originally had 4 signs. One of those signs no longer exists, but the 3 remaining signs are the signs that we would recognize. They're entitled the Mill Dam, Jethro's Tree, and the First Settlement, I think is the title of the third one.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously this is a
There you are, Catherine.
There a lot of considerations to be made here in terms of appropriateness, and I understand the value of the DEI being involved in sort of making recommendations here. So with regard to just covering them temporarily. I mean, I think I personally would think having some kind of messaging, meaning I don't think a blank cover, I think a blank cover ultimately would just be probably confusing. So I think there should be, if the signs are in fact simply covered up for the time of determining the plan forward and deliberating, that there is some kind of agreed upon appropriate message placed on whatever cover is deemed to be, appropriate during this transition.
Thanks very much, Catherine. Tim, you want to make any comments?
Mark, I might have missed it. Removal of the signs is just not an option.
It wasn't in the motion that the select board passed. When I was crafting the motion, I was trying to take a light touch and not presume that what the outcome of the disposition, and it struck me that trying to remove these signs might be costly and might subject them to damage, and they are 93 years old at this point. So I thought the covering them seemed like a lesser action to take that would accomplish the basic process of removing them from view for the time while the consideration is undergoing.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like Catherine, I could see having them quote unquote temporarily covered with a, maybe with a small message saying, that these are being reconsidered, and not just, it's something pretty subtle. I'm not sure what else you can do. That's kind of it. I wouldn't, it's either you remove them or you cover them. Just reading them, I've read them, and they just seem to be needing to be covered up. That's just the tone of those things if they are really out of date. So removing the message temporarily seems appropriate, and if they can't be removed, which I understand you've got to take it step by step, covering them with some durable material with a simple disclaimer or a simple explanation seems like the only other viable option, I guess. I will stop there.
Thanks very much, Timothy. Walter.
I will say that the idea of a QR code on there was intriguing at first on a cover. The problem with that is that very, very few people ever read it. And it certainly wouldn't have the impact that a message would be, which could be watch this space, right? If we were being flipped. But I don't think we should be flipped about this. My first thought on this, Mark, when I was looking at this, was that those who suffer the greatest offense from something like this should probably have the greatest voice in how to redress or address the situation. And my concern would be that the way that it was set up initially, in 1930, culturally, unilaterally, shouldn't be decided culturally, unilaterally, again, to figure out how to deal with it. So the idea of a committee to figure this out with a good, well-considered representation, I think, is the best way to do it. It seems to be really simple and facile to just say, we cover them up right away and it's done, but that ends up being a unilateral decision. If the process could be sped up so that a representative, balanced, however you want to put it, committee was in place and could make a preliminary decision about the covering or the removal very quickly before getting into the quagmire of what to replace it with, and it probably should be replaced with something ultimately. I think speed is of the essence in figuring that out, and that would be what I would look for most quickly if that could be done in the space of a week. If it ends up being months and months or half a year to do this, then it's not necessarily something that I'm going to be able to solve by myself in a ramble right now. There you go.
Thanks very much, Walter. Dennis.
I keep thinking of the approach we had from the Lafayette people to put a similar sign, now multicolored, in front of First Parish Church, and we turned it down because we don't like these sorts of signs. So if someone came to the historic districts today for this sign, we probably would turn it down and not allow it to be erected. I echo Tim in that I would go back to the select board and ask them just to remove all of them. I don't think anybody's going to miss them. I think that the citizens rarely look at these things. They're kind of there for tourists. And I would advocate coming up with some kind of a touring system that could be done digitally with QR codes that would be much more extensive, maybe have a printed guide or a digital guide to it. Because there are many more sites that ought to be covered, and I don't think we want to cover the town with a lot of plaques and signs that are everywhere, particularly when they're complex stories, as this one is, with conflicting narratives and the mythic quality of it. I'm talking about the Jethro's Tree one in particular. I guess you could cover it. I have no problem with them being covered. It's just going to raise a lot of questions, and I don't know what kind of message you could put on it. But I would push for just removing them and moving on with some new system.
Thanks very much, Dennis. I just want to clarify that the opinions that are being heard are just opinions. They are informal opinions of commissioners. Doesn't mean that that's the way that they are going to vote. If this matter comes to be considered as an application. My impression of this matter is that what we have to deal with as a Historic Districts Commission is whether the architectural or the objects that are seen from the public way evoke or reflect some historical event that took place in Concord. In general, historical events sometimes are pleasant and are worth celebrating, and sometimes are a matter of regret and mourning. And either way, they are memorialized. So these signs have been there since 1930, and they represent a very particular time of the history of our country, when a very difficult process that started around 1630 and that probably is still going on was cast in a certain way. The way that I think that this could be conceptualized is that every time that a new group of people shows up in lands where already people are living there, there's a process of contact. Then there's a process of confrontation. Then there's a process of cooperation. And I think that what the 1930 signs are trying to idealize these difficult steps, you see, and they are assuming that the last step of the cooperation was something that was done willingly and happily. And certainly history shows that certainly was not the case. We have plenty of historic references to say that what the signs are referring to are imagined history, an optimal history from a very particular standpoint. So from that perspective, the signs are irrelevant from a historical standpoint. But on the other hand, the signs reflect a particular view that existed in 1930. And that is something that it's worth keeping in mind. It's worth remembering that at some point we try to make things different, even if they weren't. And that may be a lesson that may be a historical reference. That's something that allows you to understand what happened before, so you may understand what's happening now, and you may have some ideas about what will happen in the future. So I'm not certain that there's an absolute virtue of just erasing the whole thing. The other side of the coin is that these signs are actually very offensive. And from that perspective, I don't believe that anything that it's particularly offensive, especially for some people, has any role as a historic reference. And so the point is, which perspective has the greatest weight? Should we take into account that this is part of Concord? It has been there for 93 years. You see, you just can't take things that have been there for so long and just move them, or make them disappear, which is basically what's being attempted here. On the other hand, I may come around and understand what really was going on and realize that this is very offensive to my ethos and to my existence, and therefore I would want them to be removed. So the next question comes from a question for as a Historic Districts Commission as such, which is, what is that a Historic Districts Commission would have to do in order to maintain historic references and at the same time be mindful of the sensitivity, the rightful sensitivities of other peoples. And I think that that's where the conundrum lies. I know that there are people who would like to have the signs removed. Some other people would like the signs removed and put in a museum. Some other people would like to have the signs covered. Some other people would like to have an additional sign on the bottom that says the signs are being revised, etc., etc. I don't know which one of those solutions is the best. But what I do encourage, and I'm going to be echoing Tim Whitney, and I apologize for being so long-winded, is that our native citizens be involved in this process. So at least we have a palpable perception of how offensive these signs may be. And I think that is very, very important. I think that from a standpoint of procedure, it may have been a little premature for the select board, although I entirely agree with the primary purpose to say, let's just cover the signs. And that's the reason I asked the question about what was the time frame for that. But I would certainly engage as soon as possible, like tomorrow, members of our indigenous communities and ask them what they think should be done. You see, and I'm sure that that decision will be a wise decision that will be well informed. And when the select board comes to the Historic Districts Commission with a proposal, I think that it's going to be a solid and robust proposal that will pay homage to the native peoples that existed here before the arrival of Europeans, and that will also reference the difficult process that was that of contact, confrontation, and cooperation. Well, thanks very much. I again apologize for my long-windedness. And I'll ask Mark for some final comments and final thoughts.
Yeah, thank you all for your thoughts, and I think it's helpful. I think it's representative of how complex a conversation these signs can invoke, and certainly part of the idea of potentially applying a cover and putting a basic message or putting a QR code for those that want to be curious about that might be a way of inviting an invitation into that deeper conversation that hopefully will involve many perspectives. The indigenous perspective obviously is incredibly important. But certainly in the week or so since we took this action, we've heard from many people with differing views. And certainly the idea that there is a point in time understanding of what these signs represent, which is educational in and of itself, and is provoking of this dialogue that I think the DEI Commission is also trying to awaken in the community. And so I guess I do want to ask you a question, because I would say that naively, I did not necessarily understand that there might be an inhibitor to taking the action of covering the signs immediately. Is it the sense of the Historic District Commission that that the town should, acting through the town staff should not simply cover the signs and put a message of some sort that says, work in progress, without making a formal application? Or because I'm really trying to be very respectful of town staff resources and what we ask them to do in this area. And so what I'm trying to do is move into that second phase of this process while not consuming a lot of resources on the particular issue of getting it going. I feel like the signs themselves is an opportunity to invite more people into this conversation, which to my way of thinking can only be good.
Well, I can try to answer that question, but I would say categorically that any changes that are made to any structures that are in the public way and are within the historic districts, it must be approved by the Historic Districts Commission. So I would indicate that an action of the select board to cover the signs without a certificate of appropriateness by the Historic Districts Commission will be a breach of a protocol, and will create problems in the matter of town governance. So I think that there are many venues to make changes in historic districts. If you want to, sometimes the commission approves temporary structures, and the select board may formulate any actions that they may want to take on the signs as a temporary change, which the commission considers and makes decisions based on its own values. And in general, I would say that if anything is going to be done, it most definitely should go through a certificate of approval, whether it be for a temporary change or for a permanent change. Does it clarify the question of the time frame?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I thank everyone for participating in this meeting. I'm going to address the final point of the discussion that only pertains to members of the commission. So we will not mind that all the public disappears from the screens. And that's point number 4, which is a discussion of the 2024 schedule. As you all know, we have become busy for reasons of one or another. The commission currently meets the first Tuesday and the third Tuesday of every month. And there's a motion, or there's a proposal that is being floated about doing it every 3 weeks instead of every 2 weeks. That will decrease the number of meetings from something like 24 to 17. So it may be that commissioners may be a little may have more flexibility. This is not a point that we're going to vote or making a decision about, but it's something that I ask the commissioners to think about and to decide whether that would be favorable action in part of the commission to meet every 3 weeks instead of the first and third Thursday of every month. Finally, I will reemphasize that the next meeting is December 21st, and it will be in person. So I ask you that you earnestly clear your schedule so you can come to that meeting. And I shall look forward to see you all there. So thanks very much to all, and I will ask now for a motion to adjourn.
I move to
I
adjourn.
will be adjourned.
A second,
Second,
all those in favor?
Aye,
Anybody against?
no.
The meeting is adjourned. Thank you so very much.